is now my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to declare this first African Farm Forestry Producer Organizations Conference officially open. Thank you very much.
It was the beginning of an extraordinary convergence of more than 100 delegates from Africa and other parts of the world for the Africa Family Forestry Producer Organizations Conference, whose theme was Forestry for Improved Livelihoods. This meeting acting as a precursor to the 14th World Forestry Congress that will be held for the first time in the African continent 2 months from now in Durban, South Africa. The delegates assembled in Nairobi, Kenya, from organizations representing farm family forestry in both Africa and other countries were seeking to discuss and share experiences of locally controlled forestry, with a special focus on family farm tree growing groups and their national organizations and federations. Background paper presentation on the important aspects of family farm forestry kick-started the first day of the conference deliberations, and there was a resounding agreement among the speakers on the challenges faced by the farmers practicing farm forestry.
It's important for livelihoods, for subsistence, for cash income. There are many people involved in the whole value chain, market chain, so many jobs being created. There are also limitations to those markets of non-timber forest products, of tree products. Often underdeveloped markets, vulnerable groups may be excluded. It contributes to sustainable landscapes. Farm forestry provides many ecosystem services. It can help to restore landscapes, to help in climate change mitigation.
Farm producer organizations also are very important when farmers have to sell their products. They try to put the traders and the farmers together to negotiate better prices for their products. They also deliver business advice to farmers, and they also build their capacities in general in all of these issues, including how to manage their monies, because most farmers in rural areas generally do not know how to. When they get money, they either think of alcohol, or for the men, they think of getting a second wife. And that is it. But with the farm producer organizations, they can easily tell them how to save for their children, for the school fees of their children, and the like.
In each of our countries, our circumstances are quite different, but we all share 4 basic challenges. To grow forests, we need secure tenure for our land, we need fair market access, we need effective associations to represent us, and those associations need to represent women and youth as well as men. And the 4th one is support service, especially extension. To grow trees, farmers need good extension information and advice. We've heard a little bit about the very exciting initiative here in Kenya between the Kenya Forest Service and FFPOs to expand, through collaboration, to expand extension service.
Our major future program which we are dreaming upon is bioenterprises. The power of forests for becoming a source of sustainable income, generating future sustainability for the forest itself, for the people which live with, and for the beneficiary of this product is enormous, and is substantially underexploited. I had the chance to discuss it several times with your Principal Secretary, Madam Cabinet Secretary. I think it's really a huge importance for this country to make farming attractive from an economic viewpoint, and at the same time making sustainable for the future of the forestry. And that is the very most important tool to attract the new generation to be part of it, to attract the system to work in the future. Otherwise, risk to remain a long rhetoric.
Sustainable forest management provides a very useful window, a very important window to address climate change challenges, especially by involving the rural communities. And then the approach of this farm family forestry approach, which is bottom-up, really sells itself as one of the possible best approaches to use in addressing the challenges of climate change and desertification on the continent.
Inadequate quality standards for products and overall lack of emphasis by most governments on the contribution of this sector to the economy. In order for the African governments to tackle these emerging challenges in farm forestry development, a paradigm shift from business as usual to business unusual is needed. This new paradigm shift should focus more on the development of farm forestry on farmlands, conservation of the vast woodlands, and the development of a policy and legal environment favorable to the development of locally controlled forest enterprises and businesses in Africa.
We wanted to support farm forestry in the country, and that want actually contributed to the seed money for the Forest Conservation and Management Fund that we have established in this country to support forestry development. And therefore, as we move forward in promoting farm forestry development, that's part of the money that will be always ring-fenced to be invested in that area.
Day 2 was more of a practical approach to the roundtable discussions as conference participants took a field trip to selected farm family forestry sites.
Sasa hii wakati umeanza kuweka hapa mpaka wakati ile itaenda kupandwa kwa shamba inachukua muda gani? 3 months. That is 3 months, yes.
They have like a research to get to a maturity.
Na hii ukishapanda inakuwa kwa muda gani ndio ukate?
Unajua hii ukipanda hii kwa mchanga ndio inatoa dogo dogo. Inaitwa mother plant.
Yes.
Inatoa mpaka miaka 7. Lakini hiyo dogo dogo utakuwa nakata. Inaenda na miaka. Ikirisha miaka 7, giant bamboo inatoa ile kubwa kama hii.
It takes up to 7 years for it to produce the giant bamboo.
In most of Africa, 70% of the population lives in rural areas. This population depends on natural resources, including forests, for their livelihoods.
Well, what do you attribute that to? Is it the improved vegetation, or you have several flowering periods or different plants? Is it common to harvest 4 or 5 times? Or, looking at the vegetation.
And maybe you can try to expound on the same. Mostly, we always have 2 seasons here. Okay, we can talk for 2 wet seasons. The one which comes around March, April, May. The other one is September, October there. And that is where when you have cold months. Probably that is the time we can say there is low harvest or there is low output from the hives. But we have various tree species which do flowers into different seasons. So when it is cold, we are supposed to have honey, but low production. But when it is warm, that's where you can get more production of the honey, since even the bees can also be able to collect the nectar from far. As you can see, the farm itself has several and different tree species.
The flowering of the trees are quite frequent, and also they don't move in very far away to collect the honey, because you realize some other areas where the flowering and also the trees are not many, they go very far, and they come sometimes very tired, so they don't actually their production goes down. So they are just getting their food here within, and also see the rain itself here is quite high, so flowering is also frequent.
Let me tell you how you cook. You remove the outer cover, then you chop it so that you have low chops. Once you have done that, boil for half an hour. Then you deep fry. Then you end up with a delicacy. You end up with a delicacy like what we have here. This is already prepared. These are bamboo clips. By the way, do you want to test? Yeah, you just pick. Yeah. Very nutritious and.
Most natural forests are still controlled by government agencies, and although some provision exists for community forestry, these rarely grant sufficient commercial control over those community forests to incentivize sustainable community forest management and restoration, or to allow financially viable associations of community forest businesses to develop. Yet, as natural forests get depleted, people are beginning to see a commercial opportunity in planting trees on their own farms to fill a growing demand-supply gap.
Mostly the government is very low when it comes to rating the product or three products. But from private farms, they do put higher prices because the products on the trees are always high. At the end, the final crop, it will also be determined by the market. And maybe by then that will determine the margin that he will get or she will get out of this portion.
Unfortunately, forest farmers in many countries are not given the legal and institutional recognition that they deserve. The result is that forest policies and laws do not take into account this important segment of forest stakeholders.
They were burning charcoals. The big challenge which we have got by the time is to mobilize our community, to tell them, don't destroy our ecosystem, because it's very important for us and the future generation. By the time Maria was a small girl and others, but we joined hand to hand with them, and we afford to make awareness to our community, because nowadays, if it is an old man and old woman see you destroying forests, mara moja anapiga simu kwa forester.
The delegates also had a sample of other economic activities that arise from farm forestry, like this mineral water bottling plant. and great lessons were learned too. Formation of forest farm producer organizations and federations have been deemed as the best frontier for forest farmers who are working towards decreasing the demand-supply gap created by forest degradation.
It has been an exciting moment for me in the sense that from the experiences shared in the first and second day in terms of the presentations and now coming to the field, it has been exciting to see how the farmers are actually integrating forestry activities, planting of trees, managing of trees together with agricultural crops.
I am the president for the Women College Farmer Union Network of Liberia. The visit here to Kenya is impressive. It's something to learn and carry back home, because with all the visits and look at the landscape, in Liberia we got a lot of hills, valley, but they are unused. And looking at what the farmers are making use of the hills, the valley, I think it's something I'm carrying back to the women, number one.
One of the impressive things I saw was actually trees on farmlands, because